Oftentimes, when people think of Cleopatra in ancient Egypt, the first thing that comes to mind is glamour, riches, beauty, and power. She is often portrayed through art as a strong, beautiful leader. Over time, there have been many different developments on how Cleopatra has been perceived through art history. Starting with ancient art, she was sculpted with marble, then painted and reimagined through both ancient and European art. Over time, it has been hard to pinpoint what she actually looked like. She was painted as a blonde woman at one point, which would align with Western ideals of beauty standards for women. However she is portrayed through art and history, it is undisputed that she was a beautiful woman. She was very strategic and clever while being an expert negotiator. She served her kingdom well and was considered to be very intelligent, even beyond politics, as she was educated in many languages and philosophy. Even today, she stands as one of the most powerful women in the ancient world. Stay tuned for a deep dive into Cleopatra within art's evolution. This first picture is a sculpture found in the house of Diademenos and is believed to resemble Cleopatra. You can see with her demeanor that she would be standing tall, with her head held high, signifying her confidence and power. She is also wearing a diadem, which is a headband-like crown with ringlet curls pulled up at the back of her head. In Cleopatra's images, Reflections of Reality, Walker describes Cleopatra's features, quote, as a royal style it no doubt proved attractive to private individuals, end quote. Through this sculpture, with the emotion shown in her demeanor, we can tell that she was of a very high status and therefore respected throughout her kingdom. This painting is said to depict Cleopatra and one of her longtime lovers, Mark Antony, surrounded by servants. This relationship went on for years. Although Antony had left Cleopatra for Rome and married Octavia, the two were eventually reunited. It is said that the two were inseparable when they were together. Antony was known to be a jokester and would often roam the streets of Alexandria with Cleopatra. Plutarch wrote, quote, together with him she played dice. They drank together, hunted together. She viewed him practicing arms, and at night, when he wandered around the city in a slave dress, stopping at the doors and windows of houses and covering the simple rank owners with his usual jokes, Cleopatra was there next to Antony, dressed to match him, end quote. This passage from Plutarch captures their relationship, which is often mirrored by artist depictions of the pair. The painting shows the pair embracing, surrounded by onlooking servants, playing music and attending to the pair. This relationship in love and political alliances would eventually be a factor which led to the fall of ancient Egypt to the Romans. The political and military alliances between Antony and Cleopatra caused a rivalry between Antony and his wife Octavia's brother, Octavian. This eventual civil war is known as the War of Actium. Upon the realization of Octavian's imminent victory, Cleopatra commits suicide and was followed by Antony shortly after in order to avoid being taken prisoner. This next image is of Cleopatra and Octavian. It looks as though they are in some type of private throne room with a sculpture of Julius Caesar, Cleopatra's lover before meeting Mark Antony. It looks as though they are negotiating, with Cleopatra using gestures. Because of the sculpture of Caesar, it is likely that Cleopatra was in Rome at the time. In the background, behind Octavian, there are Roman soldiers standing guard over the meeting. Behind the pair are 4 different statues, which could be interpreted to resemble Rome's power. The women behind Cleopatra, likely her attendants, share looks of despair between them, which could tell us that the negotiation is not going well. This gives us clues that this could possibly be a negotiation between the two about the War of Actium before Octavian's victory over Cleopatra and Mark Antony. This image is much different than most paintings of Cleopatra. Cleopatra is usually depicted with dark, curly hair with lavish clothing. This image is much different than most paintings of Cleopatra. Cleopatra is usually depicted with dark, curly hair with lavish clothing. Here she is depicted with blonde hair and is naked on her bed. In her hands, she is holding a snake, which could possibly be referencing the last few moments before her suicide. She is looking out a window over the kingdom, looking indifferent. It is said that at the end of the War of Actium, Cleopatra commits suicide by having an asp, which is a deadly, venomous type of cobra, bite her. Antony's suicide, as well as Cleopatra's, signified Octavian's victory and the eventual fall of Egypt to Rome. The depiction of Cleopatra as blonde and naked could be perceived by viewers as the artist's choice to paint her with what was thought to be attractive for women at the time. And finally, this last photo is depicting the death of Cleopatra. She is laying lifeless on her bed, with a bright light directed on her, making her the main focal point of the painting. She is surrounded by her attendants, with one holding her hand and crying over her, and another woman who looks to be deceased on the floor. To the left of Cleopatra, it looks as though soldiers are rushing in to see the deceased queen looking concerned. The concerned looks and grief signified the loyalty Cleopatra held from her kingdom as queen. Although it is very subtle, there is a basket on the floor with what appears to be a snake slithering into it. Despite her tragic ending, Cleopatra ruled her kingdom fiercely. Through love affairs and civil wars, she never gave up on her kingdom. Her place of death was within a mausoleum she had contracted for herself to be built while Antony was off fighting the war. Her death, while tragic, signified her power and how she was opposed to being taken prisoner. While her death signified the fall of ancient Egypt, it also signified her self-power and how she chose to control her own fate. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you later.